Hi guys, welcome back. In this lesson we will start to write the code that will scrape the data from a website. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to install 3 libraries. The first one is pandas, the second one is called Beautiful Soup 4, and the third one is requests. So Beautiful Soup 4 is the library that we are going to use to do our scraping, and pandas is the library that we are going to use to do our ETL, which is to extract, transform, and load the data into our spatial table. Requests is a library that we are going to use to do get requests on a given URL and return the HTML code for that web page. So let's start with pandas. So it's pip install pandas. Okay, so now that is installed, the next library that we are going to install is Beautiful Soup 4. So it's pip install Beautiful Soup 4. And then we finally install the requests library. Okay, so once we have done that, we can close the terminal for now. Okay, and now let's open our settings.py file. And let's go to our list of installed apps. So we are going to add Leaflet to our list of installed apps above the WaterWatch app. Okay, and then we can save the file. Once this is done, let's open our admin.py file. So now we are going to start writing the code that will scrape the data from the website. So let's start with our import statements. So the first one that we import is the point object. This will store all our latitude and longitude values. And then we import the datetime object in order to get the current date that we will use to insert the record into our table so that we can see the date and time in which the record was inserted. And then we import the leaflet geoadmin class. So in the admin.py file, you have to register your model as well as the admin class. And instead of importing a standard Django admin class, we will be using a leaflet geoadmin class. And we have gotten that from the leaflet app that we have added over here. Okay, and then we import pandas. So we will use pandas to do our data transformations. And then we import the requests library, which is going to help us download the HTML code of our page when we enter the URL of the website that we will be scraping from. Okay, and then we import our model. So we need the model to be registered to the admin class. And lastly, we import Beautiful Soup, which is our scraping library. Okay, so once that is done, we are now going to register our model. So let's first create a geoadmin class. Okay, so basically in order to register this admin class, we need to specify the name of the model over here, as well as append the word admin. So this is what Django requires. And then we specify the type of admin class that we want to use. We want to use the leaflet geoadmin class. So that's all we have to do. And now we need to register the model. So it's just admin.site.register. You pass in the model as well as the admin class for that model. Okay, so that's what we have to do before we can use the model. Okay, so now the first thing that we are going to do is get the HTML page of the website that we are going to scrape from and store its HTML code in a page object. So we will be doing a GET request on its URL. Okay, so we use the GET function of the request library. So this will download our web page by using the URL. So I'll copy over the URL that we are going to use and that we are going to be scraping from. So it's going to get this page and store it in a page object. So now let's open up our web browser and go to this URL. Okay, and as you can see, here is the web page and this is the data that we want to scrape. And now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to look at the table over here and then take a look at its attributes. So now let's inspect the DAM field. So we right click and then click on inspect. Okay, so here is the HTML code for this page. And as you can see, here is the DAM field and it is part of the first row. So if we click on the drop down, we can see that each and every one of these tags are rows. And each row is stored inside the table body. So we want to scrape this table right here. And notice the properties of this table over here, especially the style. So we are going to use these attributes to pinpoint this exact table and allow us to scrape it. Because as you can see, there is another table. So if we just search for the table using beautiful soup, we wouldn't know which one to take. So as you can see, these attributes are different for this table. So we are going to use these attributes to uniquely identify this table that we are looking for. Okay, so if we click on one row, so this is one cell, the first cell of the first row. And then if we click on the second cell, we can see it's the river field. And then the third one, photo, and so on. So these are going to be the fields for our table. And we are going to use these cells to get our values. So we'll scrape each and every one. So now you have a bit of an idea of what we are looking for. And then we will perform ETL operations by removing some of the data that we don't want, like this total row over here. So we are going to transform this table into a table that we can use for our application. Okay, so now let's go back to our IDE. So once we've got the page, the next thing that we are going to do is create a beautiful soup object using that page. So we create a soup variable and then we create a beautiful soup object and then we pass in the page that we have gotten from this URL. So it's page.content and then we use the HTML parser of the beautiful soup object. You can also use an XML parser to parse XML, but seeing that we have an HTML page, we are going to use the HTML parser. Okay, and now the next thing that we are going to do is get the table container, which contains the DAM data that we need. So we are going to use the find method of the beautiful soup object, which will allow us to search for the table that we want. So let's first create another variable. We are going to call it damn data container. And then it's equals soup.find. And then we are looking for a table element. And the table element also has attributes. It has an ID. And it has an align center. So now we are going to test and see if it managed to get the correct table that we wanted by printing the container. So we are going to print the damn data container and then see what we get when we run the application. So let's open up our terminal. And then we can run the server with Python, manage.py run server. So we should be able to see the HTML code of the table printed in our terminal. So as you can see, the table has been found. So we have found the right table using the find method of the beautiful soup object. And this is the table that we are looking to scrape, table align center, and the ID. And as you can see, we have the first row, which is all the fields, and we have the data that we need. So this is exactly what we are looking to scrape. Okay, so now we can comment out the print statement. So now we have our table. And now the next thing that we are going to do is first write an if statement to check if the table actually exists, because sometimes it disappears from the website and the application will crash if it can't find the table. So if it can't find the table, it will return a none. So we will do our scraping only if the table that we are looking for exists. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is get the rows of our table. So it's table rows equals damn data container dot find all tr. If we go back to the web page, it's going to find all of these rows and then store it in this variable called table rows. So once we have done that, let's print table rows. Okay, so as you can see, we have isolated our table rows and it's stored in a list. So this is the opening bracket of the list. And then as you can see, this is the first element. And below is the second element separated by a comma. And as you can see, each row has an opening and closing tag. So this is exactly what we want. And this is the end of the list. So now we have extracted the data that we need and we are ready to transform and clean the data. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.